Hey, it's Josh from Fairview Hardware, and today we're going to take our Primo ceramic grill. This is the oval large size, and we are going to take it from a cold, dead fire up to hot and ready to cook. So you can see the temperature gauge here showing that we are dead cold. Open her up. We're going to remove the top cooking grates. Notice these are dirty because usually it's recommended with a Primo to clean after it warms up a little bit. So we're going to remove our ceramic heat deflector plates, take those out of there, and we're going to take out our drip racks. Okay, and you can see we have some fuel left over still from the previous burn, so I'm going to take my little stick and stir it up some, flatten everything out a little bit. Probably not enough fuel to do our next cook, so I'm going to top it off a little bit. I've got my box of lump charcoal here. I like to spill it out this way so that I can get sizes of chunks that I need. Smaller chunks build hotter fires, bigger chunks build slower, lower temperature fires, good for smoking. So we're going to just keep popping things up here. Not adding too much, just bringing it back up. I like to do just above the holes here on the ceramic firebox. And this will get me probably an hour and 15 minutes of cook time, maybe an hour and 20, not quite an hour and a half. But you can see we've got some coals there. So now that they're arranged, try and make a couple of little piles to hide my quick start match light in there. A couple of little cubes here. I usually take these little quick lights and rip them in half, set them down in, and I feel like lighting them with a lighter usually gets me a little bit better start than using the quick strike on the side of the box. Here's one. And there's two. And then I'll just take a few pieces and nestle them over just so that they start to catch. And we are basically just going to let that go for about 10 minutes or so. We'll check on it and we'll say 10 or 15 minutes here. So we're about 10 minutes in here. We can see that the charcoal has got some flame. It is burning pretty good now. So got our draft door open all the way. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and close the grill up. Open the daisy wheel completely on the top so we've got a nice good draft going, and we're going to let this thing start to fire up, get the rest of the coals lit, and then we'll rake them around, put in our accessories, and we'll let it heat up to 10. So it's been about 10 minutes. We've had the grill closed up with the draft door open and the daisy wheel open on top. Not quite 200 degrees yet inside the grill, but we're going to go ahead and open it up. We definitely have some spread on those embers, starting to catch the whole nest on fire here, so we're going to stir it up just a little bit, move that lit stuff around, get it spread out nice and even, and we are going to go ahead and put in our drip racks. There's one, two. Go ahead and put in our ceramic heat deflector. Try and close up this gap. They'll form a little bit of a gap here, and if you just do your best to try and even it up and make sure that there's not too much heat leaking through there. If you have too big of a gap and you've got things straddling that gap, like let's say you put some burgers across that gap, they're going to cook really, really hard and heavy in the middle and not as evenly. So I try to avoid putting things right in the seam of those two heat deflector plates where they come together. Try to keep things just on either side of them, and it seems to work out really, really well. However, the inverse is true. If you want to get a little bit of focused browning on something, you can use that gap to your advantage. I've done that before too. just to kind of crisp up skin on a chicken leg or something like that. You can kind of separate those heat deflector plates just a little and use that extra heat there to your advantage. So we're going to go ahead and close it up, and we're going to leave the draft door and the daisy wheel open. And what we are doing now is washing the inside with heat. We have to heat up the mass of all of that ceramic lining and the ceramic firebox. We want it all to come up to temp, and we'll notice that when it has been washed with heat, that the temperature will stabilize a lot. You won't see these heavy, 15 or 20 degree swings when you open up the grill to look at what's going on. You'll see it relatively stable. You'll see 5-degree swings instead of 15. So we're not even really showing 100 degrees yet inside the dome. So we're going to give it another 10 minutes and see how things look. So altogether, it's been about 27 minutes, and we are just now approaching the 200 degree mark in there. And when we see that steady increase in temperature, that tells us that the inside of that dome is washed and that we're going to get a steady rise. And so here's where we could stop our temperature or stall it at about 225 for low temperature smoking. We can leave that daisy wheel open and the draft door open fully on the bottom and let it continue to climb to reach our target temperature, just keeping in mind that we want to dial it back and close things up when we're about 25 or 30 degrees shy of our target temperature. So at this point now we are ready to cook, depending on what our temperature needs to be. Just a little bit of time and a little bit of manipulation of the daisy wheel and the draft door can lock in our temperature and kind of keep us where we need to be. Another key thing to look for when you're looking for a fully heat washed dome is it'll be pretty hot to the touch outside. Not so hot that I can't hold my hand there for a few seconds, but it's definitely warm to the touch. I wouldn't want to leave it there for more than 5 or 6 seconds or risk a burn. And it won't get too much hotter than this, even at a really high temperature. It'll stay relatively easy to touch on the outside. It might not want to be touching it too long here, but even at 500 or 600 degrees inside, you could still reasonably touch this with a bare hand outside a little. But that's the sign that it's insulated. It's holding all of that heat that we're creating by burning our fuel. We're holding it inside and using it more on our food and letting less escape outside. So that's the end of this video on how to get your Primo grill from cold and dead out all the way up to a cooked temperature. And you can see just in this few minutes that we've been talking here, we are at 250 and climbing. So we are good to go. Thanks so much, and hope to see you soon.